salutations. My name is Dr. Tanya Alcoholic, and I am the president of Lighthouse Theological Institute and Seminary. And I wanted to just take a moment today to share one of our class lectures with you. So that you can experience firsthand the level of scholarship depth and spiritual engagement available to you here at Lighthouse. Our goal is to equip thinkers, to equip leaders, and of course, to equip visionaries who are ready to merge faith, intellect, and purpose to impact the world. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the class. And it's not the whole class, but it's a portion of one of the classes that we took here at Lighthouse. So I do hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that some of you gain some interest. And if you have any interest, go to lighthouse.tis.com, and that will take you directly to the website so that you can see what we're doing at Lighthouse Theological Institute and Seminary. Thank you. Bye-bye. Based upon the weeks, and this is from week zero stuff, okay? So, what does it mean to you all to study race, religion, and politics together? Because I cultivated these two classes to do them at the same time for a specific reason. But what does it mean for you in order for you to have to study race, religion, and politics and ethics together in one space?
For me, Professor, it's a little bit different because for some reason we've always separated at least the religion from the politics.
Mm-hmm,
We sometimes incorporate race with religion, I
mm-hmm,
think, but
mm-hmm.
definitely politics has always been kind of shunned. It's at least from where I come from. I think the ministry I'm in now is the most I have seen, at least politicians being able to come in on a Sunday morning
Okay.
and take 15, 20 minutes as to why you should vote for them. So in my opinion, I think it's a little hard a little different for me to be studying race, religion, and politics at the same time. I think it's good. It's
Mm-hmm,
stretching my mind, but it was a little bit different.
mm-hmm. Okay. All right. What about for you, Overseer TJ?
I just like the fact that there was a balance. And I think it should be a balance because we need all three to. I mean, we just need all three to help us to, especially deal with what we're dealing with now,
Mm-hmm.
because you know we're saved, but at the same time we got to still deal with life. So I think I just love the balance of the fact that because religion, race, I mean, all three of them coincide,
They do.
you know, and so you can't have one without the other. Whereas we didn't stress on it as much than we do now because of where we are now. Okay. Yeah, before it was like, we didn't really, but because of where we are now, mm, mm, it's important. I think it's a necessity.
So that raises the question, do you guys think that maybe, or at least in our culture, church, that maybe we're now being reactive because of what we're dealing with? So is that now why we are maybe accepting a little bit more of the political arena within our churches or ministries?
I think you raise an interesting point about reactivity. However, I want to interject within that same space of reactivity. The truth is, none of these things that are going on has ever not been going on.
It's true. Yeah.
All of these things have been what they have been from the very point in time that before we were all born. All of these things have been going on. It is just the difference between then and now is that it is now on the forefront as opposed to behind the curtains. It's no longer covert, it's now overt, it's out in the open. And so we've always, from my perspective, the Black church and the Black experience has always been in that space of reactivity because we've always known that this is how we have to operate in the world. We've always told our young, and I'm sure you've been told this, and I'm sure Overseer TJ, I'm sure you told this to your children, your young boys. When you go out, don't wear hoodies over your head. Go, don't walk certain places. Don't do certain things. Don't appear to be overly aggressive.
Hmm.
Am I right? And this was
But
before all of this came out. Because
but
even,
I
go ahead,
but I did mine in a religious standpoint.
but it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. I
It
was
doesn't
just
matter.
saying.
It doesn't matter the lens that you use, but
Okay.
you still had to use something in order for them to be able to rectify living and walking, talking, breathing, and being in this earth as a black person.
Mm.
And there's
Mm.
no way to get around that. So, um, I want to just add a little nuance to it. So, from my perspective, to study all of these things together, to study race, religion, and politics, and even ethics together, we realize and recognize that they are not operative as separate entities. They're
Mm.
all together. So, race determines who is seen as divine or who is seen as dangerous. Religion gives the moral compass or the moral language to, to those very hierarchies.
The
And
direction.
politics enforce them through the law and the culture and the societal changes that we have to adhere to in the world just to get through our day.
So they do coincide.
They are all together. So even in the reading, Cornell West talks about that democracy cannot survive without moral imagination, and that imagination has always been shaped by theology, whether
Mm.
it sanctifies it, the empire that we live in, or it liberates the oppressed. When we study these intersections of all of these forces, what we're doing is we're studying the making of the human self, the self overall. And so this task is not an academic task alone. It is both a spiritual task and an ethical task, and it calls for the reconstruction of how we even think and ponder about these things in our daily lives.
Gotcha.
Did I lose y'all?
Mm-mm. But I do want you to repeat what you said about religion. I got the race determines who's divine. Well, you said about religion, and I was right, and I missed.
Okay, I was just talking off the side of my head. Uh, so
Oh,
when I was talking about religion, what the more when I said it gives the moral language,
here's the moral language. That's it. Hmm.
and so so race says someone is divine or dangerous.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, religion gives moral language to that hierarchy that race has defined.
A minute. Ray says what now?
That someone is divine or
Or
someone is
dangerous.
okay, someone is the epitome of rightness,
Hmm.
or they're dangerous. And as we know, in this world that we currently live in, no matter, and this is not just true in the United States, this is true all over the world in certain in most places, that if your skin is melanated, you are seen as a danger. And if you are a man or a male figure, you're seen as even the more dangerous. As a woman or a female figure, seen as angry, hostile, not necessarily dangerous, but angry and hostile. And and that even goes into the coloristic ideas of black people, where men are then calling black women angry black bitches,
Hmm.
or manly or masculine,
Hmm.
just for stating a reality that she lives, that she sees, that she understands. And then it also goes into the other space where women call men um gay or
Hmm.
sissy, or just because he don't want to sleep with
Oh, it's true.
her. But that is something that happens within the race in which we have, and so that's what we're talking about, the religious aspects give that moral language. And so even though the moral language that we might use may not be um positive, it may not be good, it may not even be correct, but it gives people a space of moral superiority.
to heap over the top of people what they want their worldview to be like. So my worldview says that everyone should think the way that I think. And this is how most people respond to the world. Is that correct?
It's not, I mean, you're correct in what you're saying is how we respond,
Yeah.
but is it morally right?
Is, is it ethically
Hmm.
contingent? Is it? Because if we apply certain types of ethical frameworks, for some people would say it's ethical.
Right.
It's just like when we get into the church of God, the house of God, and we hear the preacher saying, "This is what is right. This is what holiness is." And because we all come out the holiness church, we understand what we're saying. This is what holiness is. And at one point, think about this. At one point, holiness was wearing a certain type of clothing.
Absolutely.
And in certain churches, that still is true today. So, so how do we move beyond observing these intersections to transforming them through moral practice and public witness? That's the question. How do we move beyond the observation of race, religion, and politics, and even ethics, to transforming them into a moral practice and public witness that is both affirming to us as individuals, but also affirming to the people in the worlds that we interact with? Because the reality is, these people don't realize is that, and you are a world in and of yourself. But when you interact with other people, you are having an effect on other worlds. Anything that you say to someone will interact with other worlds and will change the outcome of the worldview of that person's world, as well as it may change the outcome of their behavior. Hmm. Y'all wasn't ready for this tonight.
Yes, I'm just over here.
You know, you're taking notes. So, so let me ask. So once again, I'm gonna go back to that question that I posed to y'all. How do you both propose to move beyond observation of interactions of these interactions, or intersections between the race, religion, and the politics and the ethics, to be able to transform them through moral practice as well as that space of public witness? Do you all understand what I'm saying when I say moral practice and public witness?
So I guess what I'm understanding
Hmm.
when you say moral practices, what we deem moral
Hmm.
based on
Hmm.
those belief rights.
But but
Now,
but based upon your ideology, and I'm not
yeah.
saying, and of course it's there is no right wrong answers here. This is based upon your belief. So my belief is what is it, a collective belief. However, my collective belief resides in the one thing. And that one thing is what Jesus said. The greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and
Mhm.
soul. And the second greatest
Like
commandment
Easter.
is to love everybody else. Love cannot exist in a space where you are contemptuous towards other people, regardless to how you feel about them, regardless to what they do, regardless to what they say. And I'm having to wrestle with that myself, even within the confines of what's going on in the political world. Because and I won't put myself out there. So within the political frame, people, and I keep asking people, I know people, they get on these Facebooks and they get on these things and they talk about, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And my first question that comes to my head is, who did you vote for? And I literally have to really reframe my mind and work with myself, because is it ethical for me to say you get what you deserve,
Wow.
especially if you voted for this?
Wow. I have not thought about it like that. I've been on the other spectrum.
Hmm.
It's more like, well, this is what you
This is
decided.
what
We
you voted.
can
This is what you
check the
voted.
box. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm asking my question. I'm trying to work through that space of, should I be that way of, this is what you voted for, or who did you vote for? And if you did
Mhm.
vote for this, then you get what you deserve. And asking myself, but is that an ethical space that I should live in? And is that practicing love as far as God is concerned, not just towards not towards God, but even towards my fellow man? Because the reality is, we are one.
Yeah.
I am you, you are me. And regardless to how we interact in these different spaces, we are still one.
Right.
It's a hard space to navigate through, especially being Black in this time period.
Mm.
So, how do we move? How do we move? And that's one of the ways that I am trying to work through that space of observation of these intersections, is trying to call myself to the carpet. I'm trying to be like Overseer TJ.
Oh, wow.
And I know, and obviously I know I know you have your own failings and all that stuff. I really do. I know that, I understand it. But one of the things that I can honestly say about you is that you are a very forgiving person. And there are people who have wronged you, and you can still look at them in their face immediately after they have wronged you and love them from a genuine place. And I think that is a beautiful thing. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I am. I'm not there. And it takes me a while to go through the process of all of that stuff, because the more I see, it's especially within the context of politics in this world right now, the more I see the stuff that is going on, the more I look at the news, the more I hear the stuff, the more stuff that just comes to me. It really bothers me that there are people that I am supposed to be have an ethical responsibility towards, knowing that if it did not affect them, they would be okay with every one of us being shackled and thrown in a prison in another country.
I think it's a very loaded question. I think for me, the
Yes.
first, the first thing I have to do is take the out of it, out of each one of those intersections,
Hmm.
and acknowledge in each one of those intersections, perhaps there is some wrong there.
Hmm.
And I got to retrain my mind that I may have thought was right, with religion, politics.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's going to be the first step for me to navigate, to be able to change, right? I got to
Hmm.
take me first. I got
Hmm.
to be okay with saying, you know what? We got it wrong in this area. Perhaps my race got it wrong in some areas.
Hmm.
I know my religion got it wrong in a lot of areas. Politically,
Hmm.
why is that such a dirty word within my space of religion? You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I got to be able to be able to address those ideas, figure out what's the root cause of me thinking this way.
Hmm.
It's kind of like somebody said on, oh God, was it Facebook I was reading? And it was like, you don't even know the three branches of government.
Hmm.
It's very comical, right? But do I know why I believe in the Democratic way? Or if I'm a Republican, do I really know why? Or was this handed down to me? It's like the question you answered last night. Like, why my children can't say lie? Is that something that we have a real reason why? Or is it just been handed down over generation? And I think for me, period, is going back and addressing why I do certain things a certain way. And is it really ethical and moral? Or is it because of the way I interpret the law?
and then that and once again that goes into that space of that morality clause. What then is morality? What does it mean? What is morality?
What is
How do
morality?
we define morality? Because if even if you say my morality is biblical, so there are certain places in the Bible where the morality of the scripture is raping of women. That's a moral thing. The morality of scripture in some places were killing people where they stood.
Even the simple fact of having concubines, we're definitely not going to say it's okay to marry. Well, I'm not, when I say we, I'm just saying in general, the church is not going to say, oh, Tremaine, you can have 4 or 5 wives. But
Or you
now,
can have 4 or 5 wives and a couple of concubines too.
right, absolutely. But I can teach and preach the text when David had multiple wives, and we celebrate that he got this wife
Mhm,
because,
mhm. So how do we get to the place of defining morality? And can we define morality from that space of of society? Is it cultural, or is it inherently for us?
Some of it's some of it is self-made,
Hmm.
like according to is the gospel according to TJ,
Hmm. Hmm.
making it right in my eyesight.
Hmm.
And I think that's what the world does as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this, TJ. You say making it right in my eyesight. What influences rightness and wrongness in your eyesight?
Well, I guess comparing it with what's happening,
Hmm.
um, how other people see it, which makes it right or wrong. Because it's my word, it's what they say against what I say.
So are you saying that your morality clause of rightness and wrongness is based upon the social cues of which
Of
you live
people.
in, live surrounding?
Hmm.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
and that's
I
okay.
mean, it's not saying it's right,
Yeah,
but that's the way
but
they
but
tell
that but
people.
that but that's how you contextualize.
Hmm.
Hmm. So 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 can we say when in
So it's almost
Rome?
like a tomato situation.
So can we say like when in Rome,
Okay, I
we
see what
do as
you're
the
going.
Romans do?
I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
Mhm.
Is that a fair assumption?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think so.
And we
Okay.
have to do, and in some cases, you have to do what the Romans do to be accepted.
That brings a whole different dimension now. You use a word that's very important. You use the word acceptance. Why is acceptance by people who may not attend to your morality be important for you? It's just, and I'll give you an example. There are certain churches I ain't going to. There are certain places I'm not gonna go because I'm not gonna agree with you. I'm just not. I'm not gonna agree with you. And so and the thing about it is I'm gonna not agree with you more
You agree.
than I can be in agreement with you. So because
I'm
I'm gonna
sorry.
disagree with you more than I can be in agreement with you, I'm just not gonna show up. And I get it because I remember in one scripture where Paul said, I do not lie. A couple of scriptures later, he said, I lied to them. Because if he would not have lied to them, what would have happened to Paul? And that brings up that space that you just said, TJ, that space of if I do not uh 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 contextualize the space and I don't affirm myself the way that they affirm themselves in this space. Okay. I don't affirm myself in this space the way that they affirm themselves in this space. I may not make it out of here alive. And I think that's a very good point that you made. So let me ask you once again, how do you go, or how do you presume to go from observation of intersectionality to the transforming of those intersections through the moral practice and a public witness? How would you go about that in from your own perspective?
Just getting my own views,
Giving your views, you mean? You said you giving your views?
having my own
Oh,
views.
having your own views.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Um, can't really word it. But having my own views, seeing things in my own perspective,
Mm-hmm.
um, without being persuaded by others.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Am I making any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So let me ask you this. What then is the foundation of your compass when it comes to race, religion, and politics? What is the foundation upon which you stand that you say, this is my race, this is my politics surrounding XYZ. This is how I feel about XYZ, and this is the ethics about it, the morals about it. And how do you live within that space without compromising your ethics and your own morals if you are giving in, so to speak, to the ethics and the morality of those surrounding you?
I think you have to know your boundaries.
Okay.
Whereas I believe what I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world kind of concept.
Uh-huh. Explain
Yeah.
that more. Explain that from your perspective, a little bit more, from
I,
your perspective.
I put it like this. Okay. I know this situation with the shutdown and all that has
Uh-huh.
affected all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not allowed it to infect me
Yeah.
because I'm still doing what I was doing in my own means. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I do respect what's happening, but at the same time, I don't allow it to detour me. So what I believe as far as the race and religion and all that is my personal beliefs. At the same time, I'm not going to invade others and their beliefs.
You're not gonna do what to them?
I'm not going to invade on their beliefs or,
Okay.
you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. So what happens when they invade your belief system and then you end up changing the way that you respond to them and react with them or interact with them because of their belief system?
Hmm.
That's a good question.
Hmm.
Good question. I don't know.
That's an interesting question because
Really much.
I'm dealing with a situation now, right? Where I'm taking the road, like my uncle said. I don't want to invade your belief system.
Hmm.
I respect your belief system. I respect why you feel that way. However, that same mentality is not returned to me.
Hmm.
It's not where we agree to disagree and still be okay. It's like you're respecting my belief because you know it's right down deep down. No, it really, in my opinion, and in my truth and in my study, in what here's the proof why I feel the way I feel. However, now it's become almost a tug of war
Hmm.
because I won't side with them. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
think it kind
I'm
of
dealing with it
aligns.
too.
Yeah, it aligns to your question. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do
I
when what
don't,
they're, yeah,
well, I don't let their beliefs persuade me. I believe in the baptism in Jesus' name.
Hmm.
that's a good one.
I'm
That's
I'm
a
in a
good one.
Trinitarian um
Church.
Reformation.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Now, does that stop me from baptizing in Jesus' name? No, it doesn't. Do I get questioned about it? Yes, I do.
Hmm.
but I stand on that. But I still worship with them, and I see it doesn't affect my worship. It doesn't affect my getting along with them. I'm still on the boards. I'm still doing that.
Mhm.
And you do what you do. I do what I do. If you want to baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, you go ahead. That's your prerogative. I'm taking them down in Jesus' name.
Mhm. I think
So,
that's a good point.
I
That's a
mean,
good
I'm
point.
just,
Professor,
oh,
you remind me. Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle, I didn't mean to cut you off.
well, no, you're good.
You remind me, and maybe you remember her name, because I can't remember in our very, very first class, Dr. whatever his name was, the lady that turned was it the Methodist church or the Baptist church out?
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah,
first female preacher.
yeah.
The
She said,
Baptist.
The
yeah, I
Baptist
can't think of her
Ascension last
I know
name.
who
year.
you're talking about.
Yeah, she
I
turned
can't
that
remember her
convention
name.
out.
Mhm.
And she said something in her message that like really stuck out to me. She said, if you're prejudiced, just say you're prejudiced. If you're homophobic, say you're homophobic. And she went down a list. She said, stop trying to make Jesus match what you are. And I forget how she went, but basically what she was saying is a lot of the stuff and the prejudice that we have in the church has nothing to do with Jesus, right?
Mhm.
It's our own personal belief. And basically, she says, I'm fine with that, but don't impute that into our system as the truth. It's an opinion. And I think a lot of our things, we have made truth that is opinion. And you said something, one of the classes, putting speaking truth to power. Or how did you
Mhm.
say that?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think we got it back. We've been speaking power to opinion.
Mhm. Mhm. And so that goes into a space of how do we figure out the difference between opinion and truth? And is there, because I taught this one oh God, I taught a class one time, and baby, they wanted to crucify me after class because I said, and maybe y'all might want to crucify me after class today. I don't know, we'll see. But I said all truth is subjective. There is no objective truth. Because even with the right utensils, I can prove math to be wrong.
Hmm.
Every truth is subjective. And I can say that because give me the proof for objective truths. There's no, you can't prove it.
Mm.
But my truth of subjectivity means that I live by this particular compass.
Hmm.
It informs how I view the world.
Hmm.
And it also informs how I interact with people around the world or people around me.
Okay, but she is teaching on tonight. You hear me?
One of the questions I asked a class of preachers, I mean, it was all preachers.
Hmm.
I said, and this was before my whole hell issue, my health thing, but I asked them, I said, if hell did not exist, how would you live? Would you still live the way that you live? Or would you decide to live differently because you're no longer afraid of hell? And then I went on to say that if you are afraid of hell, then you really ain't saved because perfect love casts out all fear. So if you really saved, I live the way that I live, not because I'm afraid of hell, but because I love God. So my question was really, underlying question was, do you really love God? And if you do love God, that does not mean that you have to live the way that I live. Because your relationship with God can be very different than mine. Because the relationship God had with Job was very different than it was with Paul. It was not the same relationship. And we talk about these spaces of having a personal relationship, but we don't give people the space to have personal relationships. We want to confine people to a space of how I view as opposed to how you view and your relationship interacts with God, because my life, the evidence and the things that I have to go through in life informs how I respond with God. There are people who cuss with God. Is that right or wrong? Is that moral or ethical?
Mm.
I don't cuss with God, but for them that is. But I don't know the space of their relationship and how that relationship has been built. And guess what? It's not my responsibility to figure it out. What they say, if you worry about your business, you ain't got time to worry about mine. So,
This is good.
Very good.
This is it's
so
thought-provoking.
yeah, that's what I want it to be. That's the point. We what we do here is we learn to interrogate the very fabric of the things that we have believed our entire lives in order to figure out and punch and find the holes and poke the holes in the spaces that we have not been given the opportunity to poke the holes in. Because they said poking the holes in these spaces would send us to hell. Okay, I don't believe in hell no more. So I'm finna poke the hole. Why? Why don't you believe in hell? Why should I? Because from my understanding is that God is a consuming fire, and both death and hell will be a part of the consuming fire. So regardless to what space I end up in, I'm still in God.
Mm.
So, Professor, is this why you asked us when we started this program, where we read to be called a heretic?
Yes. Yes, because we gonna deal with stuff that people cannot do. And I'm not saying that y'all gotta be like me. Don't be like me. Don't be 20 years old and having a apostle, what's that man's name from out of Chicago? He's gone to be with the Lord now. RH.
Shambach.
No, not Shambach. It was a black man. He was a
Hinton.
Oh, Hampton.
yes,
Hinton.
Apostle Hinton. Honey, he wrote when I was 22 years old. He wrote to every church in his organization and told them that I was a heretic and not to listen to me.
You?
Yes, me.
She's somebody. You hear me? She been somewhere.
Oh my God.
Yes, yes, Apostle Hinton. Yes, yeah. He did that to me when I was 22 years old. He
Mm.
eventually came back and apologized to me years and years and years later.
I just feel so honored to even be in your presence.
Listen, to be in the same room, huh?
Yeah, yeah. He came back and apologized years and years and years later, but when I responded back to him, I said, "Well, I want you to be as open about the apology as you were with the rebuke."
Okay, so this is why I think these spaces are so important, because let's use my other boy, just passed,
He's
Azusa, Carlton Pearson,
oh,
right?
okay, Bishop Pearson. Okay, good, good, good.
When Carlton Pearson had this epiphania, uh, in this wow
Inclusionism.
moment, all that, right? And he
Hmm.
started teaching on it, and all these people said he was wrong. But what amazes me, that at his death, or before his death, I should say, you seen people starting to say, "Oh, he's on to something." But what bothers me is even the people that sat in the room and went against it. It was probably more in that room understanding what he was saying, but
Hmm.
because of who was in the room,
Hmm.
they couldn't really voice that.
Hmm.
And some of the folk that were in that room have now gone on, and now you see these people sprouting up saying, "Oh, he had it right," or
Hmm.
there was maybe I didn't agree with everything, but
Hmm.
here's some things that make sense even biblically,
Hmm.
right? So I think for me, even in even in the space I'm in, now start Kojic Church, right?
Hmm.
I'm learning to be authentic. if you want my opinion or my truth, then I should be able to speak that without being pushed away. But I'm prepared
Mm-hmm.
to be pushed away
Mm-hmm.
because some of the things that I thought even 5 years ago is not the way I think right now. And some of this is because of the things I've been exposed to. I tell my family all the time, people that go to college or do something outside of high school or move away, they have more of a knowledge of what's really, really going on, and they can kind of shift the beliefs, right, that they've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
And it may shake them, but those that refuse to be immersed into another culture, they're still stuck in that traditionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And it is handicapping families, it's handicapping churches, it's handicapping even in the political world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the people that run for office from where I'm from, it's like, let's do something better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it pushes me to have that voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you are going to be the lone voice in these spaces.
Hmm.
And I know that is not always the most optimal thing. That's why even at Encounter Center, I'm very careful with what I say there. But I tell Apostle all the time, when I'm not there, I'm gonna say what I need to say in my other spaces.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I have a leader who understands that and supports that, because I have people now at the church who ask me certain questions, and I know that they're having like some real issues with what they've heard me say on TikTok or on Facebook or on my Substack. They're
Hmm.
having some real issues with it, and that's okay. It's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind having the discussion. But the thing about it is, when you come for the discussion, be ready for the discussion.
Yeah, I think that was a challenge for me when I started this program
Hmm. Hmm.
because my idea was, oh, this is going to be just another tool, an instrument for leadership, help me, but it's really challenged everything from 1984 to where we at 2025. That's
Yeah,
41 years, right? It's
yeah.
challenged everything. And I'm thinking, I'm spinning my wheels when I'm in class. Like,
Hmm.
it's even helped with the institute that I that
Yeah.
I that I lead, right? I'm throwing out a lot of stuff like, we got to go deeper than this.
Hmm.
This.
My question for even for both of you is, how does one grow? How do you grow?
I'm gonna say like Fantasia said. I don't know what you're gonna say on, but Fantasia said sometimes you gotta lose to win again. Sometimes it takes derobing and
Hmm.
stripping
Hmm.
and starting fresh
Hmm.
with a better mindset.
Hmm.
Not, I'm just gonna go with what the first person taught me because that's mama, that's daddy, that's pastor, that's bishop.
Hmm.
No, let's start fresh.
Hmm. But it takes
And
it takes the reconstruction of a mindset in order to even get to that space of saying, "Oh, I have the opportunity to disrobe or derobe."
Detox, yeah.
and being wrong and challenged.
Would a baby ever learn how to walk without gravity?
That's right. Falling,
It's not
crawling.
possible, because guess what it doesn't do? It doesn't build the muscle and doesn't build the tenacity so that you can have what you need in order to stand. What other thing on the earth besides certain animals stand on two legs? Nothing. You put two legs on anything and it's gonna fall because it has not developed the power and the strength through adherence to the gravitational pull and the muscle development in order to be able to do that. And so what y'all are doing in this space is y'all are flexing the muscle based upon the gravitational pull of your two legs so y'all can stand on your own two legs. And even in the face of other things, like you said, TJ, I love what you said. This is my belief, and I'm gonna baptize in Jesus' name. This what I'm gonna do. That's because you're in spaces where they don't do that. That's You've learned how to flex your legs,
Muscle.
your leg muscle in that area.
I
Wow.
only do it when they come into my space.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Because if I go into, it's just like me when I went to the Methodist church to preach. Did I go in there, down in Methodism, the AM? I didn't go in there down in the AME, the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church.
Mhm.
You know what I did? I preached about Jesus.
Right.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I
It's
preached
not my
about
job
Jesus,
to.
and I preached about the woman who made the cakes for the
Mhm.
prophet. That's what I did. That's it. Because
Sit
it's not my responsibility to come in and preach or teach a different doctrine than what
and
has
what they.
been delivered unto you.
Sorry.
Because that is not my space. I
Sorry.
am a guest in your space.
Mhm.
And if your God in your space protects the guest of the space, it is my responsibility to not be offensive in your space. But if you come into my space,
It's different.
do not expect that I'm not going to be offensive. And I'm not going to be offensive on purpose. But this is my space. I didn't like when they did, certain things like, certain hymns that they sang. I ain't like them hymns. But I'm in your space. And I have to be respectful of that space. And so that brings us back to the political world, even then. So people that voted with insider with Donald Trump, and they still have their 3-time voted for Donald Trump, still on Donald Trump's side, even though all the rigmarole, and not just Donald Trump, but even the Republicans. And I don't know if y'all might have voted for Donald Trump. I don't care. That ain't my business. But my point is,
Bro, they ain't voting
there
for
are people who are still siding with that space, and so in their space, did they not have the right to do that? And who am I to have a judgment for them for doing that, or even for them, even in the space where they are still on his side and on the side of the Republican Party? Ethically speaking, morally speaking, dealing with ethics and morals are very difficult. It's not easy, you know. But does that mean that I don't critique? Does that mean that I don't say anything? Does that mean that I just sit back and allow things to be as I see them getting progressively worse? Not just for me, but for you who are still voting for this person and these people.
Mm.
It is my responsibility to still speak, when, like you said, still speak truth to power. And that truth that I'm speaking to power is the truth that I understand from my experience and my perspective. Because the reality is, I cannot speak any other truth outside of that which I have lived through. How do you speak any other truth besides that which you've lived? Is it possible to speak another truth outside of what you live and be truthful and
Mm.
honest about it? Or is it just the truth that you have not experienced and lived, but somebody else has experienced and lived? And I think that's another thing that the church does very well. We like to live circumspectly, circumstantially through the lives of the Bible. But we don't see ourselves within those spaces of deliverance out of those spaces, but we see them ourselves as those people. A lot of people see themselves and introspect themselves as Job and woe is me and all this other carrying on. But the reality is, if you really look at Job and all that he went through, what is the overall arching theme of Job?
Mm.
Was it about God's love for Job? Was it about God's or the devil's hatred for Job? Was it about Job becoming? Because once again, we go back to that space of if you don't have challenges, how do you grow? Go ahead and say what you got to say, Jermaine.
I said I wish I could throw stuff through this computer. But going back to Job.
Mm-hmm.
My belief is, could it be that God was trying to mature Job? He took everything he had, and Job found out that I gotta forgive. Job found out he had some psychological issues. One day he wanted to curse the day he was born.
Mm-hmm.
One day he wanted to die, and then all of a sudden he's worshiping again.
Job was schizophrenic. From a therapeutic standpoint, I am going to diagnose Job. Job had schizophrenia.
Or at least bipolar at the very minimum.
Yeah, or maybe schizoaffective disorder.
Yeah.
Depending on how long it happened. But then I gotta go back even further than that, because schizophrenic, bipolar, schizoaffective disorder, all these different things. We give them these spaces, but what if all of that was simply a way of maturing and working through the issues that he was experiencing?
Yep.
Because some of us could be said can be schizophrenic some days, sometimes, because we're having to work through some things. And we may not, and so one of the things that I realized, and I said, one of my friends that got called a bad name one day, not by me, but got called a bad name by somebody else. And they said, "Oh my God, I can't believe they called me a bad name." Went off. I said, "Well, were you acting like that?" And she just looked at me. And then she finally, after about 5 minutes, said, "I was." I said, "So why are you mad? If that's who you were occurring as at that moment, let that moment be that moment, but don't let that moment define the rest of your life." That moment is that moment. But that moment can't define you, even though that person's view of you may be defined by that moment. Because especially when we meet people, and especially if we meet them for the first time, and they have these certain reactions, that was a defining moment for us. And we're going to think about them in that space forever and ever until we decide to have another relationship with them. It's just like people who met me years ago. When they first met me, they have told me, they said, "Oh my God, when I first met you, I was afraid of you because you were just so mean and just so, oh my God, and just, oh Lord, just so standoffish and this, that, and the other." And I'm looking at myself, I'm like, and I had my little mask on, not even knowing I had my mask on. I thought I was smiling, but I was really scowling at people. People were afraid of me. But people didn't know that I had been hurt. I was hiding behind my hurt. I was hiding behind my own pain. I was so hurt that I put that hurt in another part of my brain that I didn't even access. But my body knew, and so it showed up on my face. Even though I thought I was smiling, I was scowling. And so I had to go through that space of unpacking and becoming schizophrenic and bipolar and having PTSD and having depression and having suicidal ideation. I had to go through all that stuff. But look at who I am now. Did I want to go through that? No. But if I would not have gone through the process, would I be who I am now for you all?